first time I played this map, I didn't really have too much to say about the surface world. But even then, I was really weirded out by this little ghost town on the outskirts of the city.
Look at my hand.
Oh, and we've got to remember to check out that dark.
There.
Don't want to forget about that.
There. Cat wounds. 2 or 3 of my cats got, well, they're not my cats, they're my daughter's cats. One of them I claim that's Houdini. But it was Houdini and Reese and Ash got into it. They was fighting. And I barehanded try to break them up. And I got wounded in the process. Look at that. Look at that. Does that show up? I guess, and none of them actually did that. Chunky decided to get into it. And I pushed him away and I got that in the process. It wasn't intentional, it was just, he did this trying to get away. So, I had a squirt bottle. Them squirt bottles work, man. They scatter when you get that out. Anyhow, it seems like the older I get, the more memories and stuff that comes back to mind.
I just wanted to try one more time to get this to happen to confirm that I had in fact downloaded the right map. There we are. What were you trying to break into?
My oldest memories that I've got
I did not know there was
is from about 1945 to 1951. I mean, I remember stuff after 51, but these years, 45 to 51, I look at that as good times in my childhood. 1951 on Mother's Day is when my mama left my dad and they got a divorce.
Eventually we're going to reach a point where it's kind of linear, but it's going to be very, very non-linear before that. I'm kind of debating if I should go down with the flashlight or the amnesia lantern.
That was the happy times. And you know, during the summer when there was no school, we was allowed to go outside on our own and nobody watching us and playing with the other neighborhood kids. We lived in a place called Broad Creek Village in Norfolk, Virginia. And Broad Creek Village was a government housing project that was built back in World War II. But a lot of Navy personnel and stuff lived in them and stuff like that, and people that did government work. My dad worked in the shipyards building those ships and stuff, and those Liberty ships and stuff like that. And every time they got ready to launch one, he'd take us down there and let us watch those things slide off into the water.
There's like an underground's underground. But only a handful of people are likely to find it during the
back then, Daddy wasn't so much of a drunk.
I have to say, since I traveled down that tunnel both times,
but
I was kind of going to test my directional travel.
we were allowed to go outside and play.
Figure to come running out of the darkness. Which those who have been watching me long enough know that that's what I always expect
And
in any situation, just as a matter of course.
when it started getting,
Down that way,
it wasn't getting dark,
my instinct is just.
but it was summer, so you know the days were long.
But I do know that up here leads to the subway platform.
But about 8 o'clock, 7 or 8 o'clock,
This is a situation that I'm not in a whole lot where I actually have
my mama,
exploring before.
she get out there on that front porch
Deep pools of water with machinery half
and start hollering for me.
This place is already
And it was pretty loud.
more of my fears.
And she called me Mackie. And she said, Mackie,
Yeah, I think we're getting close.
it's supper time.
I can tell from how much more terrifying everything is getting.
And we didn't want to come in, but we knew we better if we wanted any supper, because we didn't come in there when she said it's supper time and eat. It got put away, but if we didn't get in there and eat, and we didn't get nothing. So we come in there, and there was 5 of us. The kids. It was me, Carolyn, George, Michael, and Joe. Michael and Joe were the babies. But they weren't out there playing with us. It was just me, Carolyn, and George, and a bunch of other neighborhoods. And we get in there, and we had to go wash our hands and go in there and sit down, and everybody had a designated chair, and we'd sit in that chair, and if Daddy was there, he'd sit down. Mama had all the stuff on the table, and Daddy'd say, stick, means stick your head down, because they're saying the blessing. And Daddy was the one that said the blessing. I don't recall Mama ever saying the blessing, but she stuck her head. Because Daddy he was a bona fide drunk. I mean, he stayed drunk a lot. And that's the biggest thing. I think that was the biggest thing that come between my mom and my daddy. I don't know, because in later years I found out my mama was a pretty trashy person. Later years I found out she had a baby before she had me. She had a baby when she was 14. She went to the hospital. Grandmama, her mama, took her walked her to the hospital. They were walking distance. And she went in there and had that baby and went home the very next day. But they didn't discharge her. She just got up and left. Walked out of there on her own and left that baby. For years I wondered who the father of that baby was. And George knew. I don't know how he knew. And he said it's R.O. Carpenter. And I knew R.O. R.O. was the second cousin. But R.O. Carpenter was the father. Daddy never talked about it. And Mama sure heck didn't talk about it. But we'd stick her head, he'd say the blessing. And then me and Carolyn had to help Mama with dishes and stuff like that.
excited to
But,
see you, but
and you know,
we'll see how things are.
we had a milkman that come around every other day. And he'd leave 2 quarts of milk
There you are.
on the porch in this little cooler thing that was sitting there.
In particular, for some reason.
And pick up our empty bottles. We had to return the bottles. And he set that milk in them coolers. And back then the milk was pasteurized, but it wasn't homogenized. And if you don't know what homogenized is, that's where they blend that milk up somehow to where the cream and the milk won't separate.
That was a much more overt
Back then it was just pasteurized. So when they sat there in the cooler on the porch, the cream would rise to the top. And about that far down the bottle was the cream. You could see the line where the cream and the milk separated. Well, you could shake it up and it'd be mixed up good. But we weren't allowed, and I love that fresh milk, but we were not allowed to drink that milk. Only Mama and Daddy drank that milk. The milk we drank was in the evaporating milk, you know, like Carnation or Pet, something like that, or Borden's. And she would take a can of that milk and pour in one of those empty milk bottles. And it'd go up about halfway. It didn't go up that far. Then she would finish filling up. Well, no, before she started filling it up with water, she would put a tablespoon of vanilla flavoring in that milk. Then she would fill it up to the top with water. And it tasted pretty good, you know. We just weren't allowed to drink the other milk. It tasted pretty good. But these were quarts, you know. Now people get a gallon of milk, or you can get a half gallon. To most time, we go through about 2.5, 3 gallons a week. But I remember one time I got a taste of that cream that was on top. And man, I loved it. I got a spanking for that. But it's just things that it's something she likes. We don't get any of it. You know, that she really liked. Like fried chicken. I love chicken wings. And I hardly ever got a chicken wing. Mama was a chicken wing nut. And if we go somewhere and sit down at somebody else's dinner table, there's a bunch of fried chicken there. If you want a chicken wing, you better get it quick, because my mama was going to get it. But, you know, as estranged as I was from my mother, and some of the trashy stuff she did, I miss her. I don't know what it is. I don't think Mama loved me, really. I don't think she liked me at all. 'Cause in later years, I done stuff for her. And one of my businesses, when I lived in Florida, and I had this furniture business and the poster shop repair and all that. And I had 2 seamstress sewers that worked for me. And Mama was talking to me on the phone about she's thinking about moving to Virginia. And she said that I think she would have a hard time finding a job. Well, at that time, I was looking for a 3rd seamstress sewer. So, I hired her. Big mistake, and I should have known it wouldn't work long. And she come down, she went to work for me and my wife, and she didn't get along with nobody else in there that worked for me. She thought just because she was my mother, she had special privileges in there and everything. And by the way, when she come down, before she could find her own place, she was living with me and my wife and my kids. And she got into a big argument. She kind of took over the kitchen at home. And I could see this was fixing to be a train wreck. And she got to arguing my wife, and my wife told that was her kitchen, and my mama told her, "You're just a prima donna." And that was it. She was busting at my wife in her own house. And when she called her a prima donna, and I don't even know what prima donna meant, I just didn't like it. And I said, "Mama, I've had enough of this. You better call that old man you left down there in Florida and see if he'll take you back. Because I'm giving you a couple of weeks to find out what you're going to do, but after that you won't be working." Boy, she was mad. I'm telling you what's the truth. I don't know what made her like that. Let me see what I got here. I don't know. I don't know. And then years later, when I moved to Florida, I was in the same town that she was in Ocala. I had a pretty good sized business going there. And I had, I don't know, probably 4, maybe 5 sewers and 2 upholsterers, and somebody I always thought of as a gopher because he run errands and stuff for me. And of course my wife. And I didn't hire her right off the bat, but I decided that I needed a store on its own that sold nothing but fabrics and stuff. And so I bought a building a little further out in the county, and I hired my mama and my sister to run it. Big ass mistake. I mean, it cost me dear over that because the store wasn't making it the way I wanted it to, and I told her I was going to close it up. And I remember, I don't know if it was my sister or my mama, said, what about us? Well, what about us? Dave was going to be unemployed again. And Mama asked me, would I sell it to her? Oh, yeah, I know she didn't have the money to buy it. So I took an inventory of the amount of inventory that I had in there and the cost that it cost me. I didn't sell her the building, but I sold her the business. And she didn't have to give me nothing down. All she had to do is come back in there and go as business. And she was going to make monthly payments on it. Which, it was over $100,000 in inventory. It wasn't a big store, but it was over $100,000 in inventory. And that's what I sold it to her for. Had a signed contract and everything. She didn't like the idea that I had her sign a contract. But after about 6 months to a year, all of a sudden the payment stopped. And somebody come in and said, what's going on with your fabric barn store? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to go find out. He said, well, it's closed. And I went over there. It was closed. I used my key to get in, and there was nothing in that store but the counters and the racks and things at the fabric hunt. All the inventory was completely gone. I don't know what she did with it. Well, I know what she did with it. She sold it to somebody. So she still owed me about $95,000. So she clipped me for that. I never saw it. I could have took the contract, went down there and sued her ass. But it was Mama, and I didn't do it. And that was a big chunk of money to lose. I could put that stuff in my store in town and done that. But you know what? I take responsibility for that, because if I'd have just stopped and thought about it, I would have said, you know what? There's no way in hell that she can run that business. No way. She wouldn't pay for no advertising or anything. It's no wonder it failed. But no advertising. I tried to tell her that you got to advertise, Mama. But that's that. Sometimes it depresses me no end to think about it. And the last time I talked to my mama when she was living was when my wife died in 2007. I called up. She had already moved back to Virginia, but she was down here visiting my sister. And I called my sister up, and Mama answered the phone. I said, well, I just want to let Carolyn know that Sue, my wife, she died. And they knew she was going to. And when I said she died, Mama said, well, you deserved it. Sorry, bitch. My mama. She's my biological mama. My mama was my mother-in-law. And my Aunt Mamie. My Aunt Mamie's the one that wanted to adopt me back when nobody knew where Mama was at. And Aunt Mamie was going to try and adopt me, and they located Mama, and Mama wouldn't release, she wouldn't go for it. And she's the one that abandoned us. She wouldn't go for it. And the reason for that is she hated Aunt Mamie. Anyhow, that's a little bit about my early childhood. I have fond memories of stuff in the late 40s and 1950 and 51. I'll do another video about when Mama packed up and left in 1951 with all of us kids. I'll do another video about what happened in those few days. I was 10. But anyhow, folks, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Man, a lot of memories coming back now. I didn't know I should even be talking about this. I really don't. My second cup of coffee for the day. But I got my family here. My family is my daughter and my 3 grandsons. I'm going to do a sit down with the whole family and do a video. And I'm going to include Joey's. I don't know why they haven't got married. They was planning on a wedding and all that. I don't know. But that includes his girlfriend, Emma. Emma's kind of, the first time I met her, I looked at her, he come over with him, and when they left, I told my wife, I told my daughter hates it when I call her my wife. I said, she's kind of nerdy looking. She didn't look like the same type of girls that he had been going out with. And he had 3 girlfriends before he met this girl. And he absolutely fell in love with this girl, and he loves her a ton. And I love her. And she's biracial. To look at her, you think she's white. But her dad, when I say she's biracial, her dad was half white, half black. And her mama was white. So I don't know what, that don't make her half. I don't know what it makes her. And her mama, she can't even remember ever seeing her mama because her mama took off when she was a baby. And her daddy, that's half black, half white, he can't stand Joey, my grandson. He told her he ain't answer but one thing, and when he gets that, he's gonna drop you like a hot potato. He actually told her that. Well, he's still there. Anyhow, again, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'll see you in the next one. And by the way, this computer, I've got to get a new computer. This morning I got up, I turned it on, the screen wouldn't come up. All of a sudden it started going beep, 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 beep. Then it go beep. Then something would come up there, a bunch of information. The computer is powering down. And it kept doing that. Yeah. I'm like, this dang gone thing has took a dump. And here I sit. So I tried it one. I unplugged any stuff I had on the computer that's not normally on it, and I unplugged the computer all out for about 10 minutes. Then I plugged it back up, and I turned it back on, and it did the same thing. It shut down. Then I turned it back on. It started doing that, but then the beep stopped, and it booted up. So I ain't turning it off. Matter of fact, my daughter come in here behind me and tell me she should just go ahead and order me a computer on credit. She's got, and I said, and about the same time she said that, it come on. And I said, what? And she said, never mind. I finally dawned on me what she said, but it's come on, and it's been on since. I ain't turning it off. Anyway, for real this time, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I got to. I'm watching these wounds real close, and matter of fact, every time I get any kind of cuts or scratches, I'm putting this stuff right here on it. It's triple antibiotics and pain relief. I ain't taking no chances with cuts and scratches, because I'm very easy to get infections now. I said this in my story, and I'm sticking to it, didn't I? Okay. Alright, the Dauber's out of here. I'll see you in the next one, folks. Love all of you. GoPro, stop recording.